The night I fell in love with a stranger. It was one of those rare, electric evenings in late September, when the air still tastes of summer but the shadows grow long and deep, foreshadowing autumn's arrival. I found myself walking the unfamiliar streets of Charleston, South Carolina, drawn by the city's old-world charm and honey-colored gaslight. The night was alive with the hush of distant laughter, the clinking of glasses from open patios, and the salty scent of the harbor carried on a gentle breeze. I had come to the city for work, but on that particular night, I was searching for something I couldn't quite name, a flicker of magic, a moment that might make my heart stir. I wandered down King Street, my footsteps echoing over uneven cobblestones, and paused in front of a small jazz club nestled between a bookstore and a bakery, its sign glowing softly in the dusk. The music inside beckoned, a sultry saxophone, a voice like velvet, the hush of intent listeners. On a whim, I stepped inside, letting the warmth and sound wrap around me like a shawl. Candles flickered on every table, painting faces with gold and shadow. I ordered a glass of red wine and found a seat near a window, where I could watch the city drifting by and listen to the music swirl through the room. It was then that I saw her. She was sitting alone, not far from the stage, her head tilted slightly to one side as she listened to the music with complete, unself-conscious absorption. Her hair was the color of chestnuts and fell in loose waves around her shoulders. She wore a simple blue dress, nothing flashy, but the way she sat, poised yet relaxed, suggested confidence and a certain kind of grace. There was something about her that felt both familiar and utterly unknowable, as if she belonged to every love story I'd ever read and yet was writing her own, right there in the flickering candlelight. For a long moment, I just watched her, feeling a curious sense of fate settling over me. I'm not the kind of person who believes in love at first sight, at least, I hadn't been, until that night. But there was something about her that made the crowded room recede, until it was just the two of us and the music. The set ended, and as applause filled the air, she looked up and caught my gaze. For an instant, neither of us looked away, and she smiled, a small, secret smile, as if she recognized something in me, too. On impulse, I stood, crossed the room, and asked, "Is this seat taken?" Quote, she shook her head. "It is now," she replied, her voice warm and low. I introduced myself, and she told me her name was Lily. We spoke at first of simple things, music, books, the city, but soon our conversation deepened, as if we were old friends rediscovering each other after years apart. She told me she'd grown up in the North, but had come to Charleston on a whim, enchanted by its history and its hopefulness. I told her about my own restless spirit, my love for the way cities change at night, becoming places of possibility and promise. As the night wore on, we drifted out of the club and wandered the quiet streets together. The city felt transformed, its old buildings softened by moonlight, its gardens fragrant with the last blooms of summer. We talked about everything and nothing, our favorite poems, the places we dreamed of visiting, the little heartbreaks that had shaped us. She told me how, when she was a child, she believed the world was full of secret messages, hidden in the patterns of leaves or the rhythm of rain. I found myself confessing hopes I hadn't admitted even to myself. At one point, we paused on a stone bridge overlooking a shimmering pond. Fireflies danced in the darkness, and the water reflected the city's distant lights. We stood side by side, silent for a moment, as if afraid to break the spell. She turned to me, her eyes luminous in the moonlight. "Some nights," she whispered, "feel like they're meant to last forever. Like you step outside of time, and everything is possible." I nodded, my heart suddenly wild in my chest. I wanted to reach out, to take her hand, but I hesitated, afraid that the moment might vanish if I tried to hold it too tightly. But then she reached for me, her fingers threading through mine, and the world seemed to tilt, just slightly, as if realigning itself around us. We walked like that until the first hints of dawn brushed the sky with silver. The city was quiet, the streets empty but for us and the soft hush of morning. At the steps of her hotel, we paused, reluctant to let the night end. "I wish I could freeze this moment," I said, and she smiled, her eyes shining with something that felt like hope and longing all at once. "So do I," she replied. "But maybe the magic is that it can't last. Maybe that's what makes it real." She leaned in then, her lips brushing softly against mine, and in that kiss, the world fell away. All the worries and doubts, the endless to-do lists, the noise of the ordinary. There was only her, only this breathless, beautiful now. We parted with the promise to meet again the next evening, but as I walked away, I felt both light and restless, as if I'd left a piece of myself behind. All day, I replayed each moment in my mind, unsure whether I'd dreamed it. The city seemed brighter, sharper, every sound and color charged with possibility. But when I returned to the jazz club the following night, she was not there. I waited as the hours slipped by, watching the door, my heart rising each time it swung open. But she never came. Days turned to weeks, and I searched for her in every shadowed street and sunlit square. I asked at the hotel, but she had checked out that morning, leaving no forwarding address. I wondered if I had only imagined her, conjured her from my own longing for connection, for wonder. Yet, as the seasons changed and I returned to my ordinary life, something inside me had shifted. I found myself looking for beauty in unexpected places, letting myself hope, saying yes to spontaneous adventures. I learned that sometimes, the most extraordinary love stories are the ones that flicker briefly and then live on, transforming us in ways we never expected. Months later, on a rainy afternoon, I found a letter in my mailbox. The handwriting was unfamiliar, looping and elegant. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, Lily wrote that she, too, had searched for me, haunted by memories of that night. She had left Charleston for reasons she couldn't explain, drawn by the same restless spirit that had first brought her there. But she carried our night with her, tucked away like a secret talisman, reminding her that real magic existed. She wrote of hope, of the belief that sometimes, strangers meet and change each other forever, even if their paths only cross for a moment. She asked if I would meet her again, this time, in New Orleans, in a little cafe she described so vividly I could almost smell the coffee and hear the hum of jazz in the air. I booked my ticket that day. When I arrived, the city was alive with the pulse of music and rain, the air thick with possibility. I found the cafe, heart-pounding, and there she was, sitting by the window, her hair a little longer, her eyes as luminous as I remembered. We smiled, shy, hopeful, knowing. This time, there was no need for introductions, no hesitance. We talked and laughed and listened, picking up the threads of our story as if no time had passed at all. The city swirled around us, but we existed in our own small universe, a place where strangers become soulmates and love blooms in unexpected places. Over the days that followed, we explored New Orleans together, the hidden courtyards, the dusky blues clubs, the quiet corners where stories waited to be found. We told each other everything, the messy, beautiful details of our lives, the fears and dreams we'd never dared share. We learned each other's favorite songs and secret scars, the way our hands fit together perfectly, as if they'd always been meant to. With Lily, love was not a thunderclap, but a slow, unfolding dawn, a gentle certainty that grew brighter with each passing day. We built a collection of moments, dancing barefoot in the rain, sharing beignets under a sunlit awning, sitting in silence as the city's lights shimmered on the water. There were challenges, of course. Our lives were tangled and unpredictable, filled with commitments and distance. But we found a rhythm, a way to keep choosing each other, day after day. We wrote letters, sent postcards from every city we visited, and met whenever and wherever we could, always chasing the next adventure. Looking back, I realized that the night I fell in love with a stranger was not just a chance encounter, but a turning point, a moment when I opened myself to possibility, to the wild, unpredictable beauty of connection. Lily taught me that love does not always arrive with certainty or permanence, but sometimes as a fleeting spark, a brief, unforgettable night that changes everything. And in the end, that's what makes love extraordinary. Not its duration, but its depth. Not the certainty of its future, but the courage to embrace it, even when it comes wrapped in mystery. Somewhere in the world, On a night touched by music and moonlight, two strangers might meet and discover that their hearts recognize each other. And in that moment, however brief, the world becomes new again. That is the magic I carry with me, always. The memory of the night I fell in love with a stranger, and the promise that, sometimes, the most beautiful stories begin when you least expect them.